Good morning. It's 8 AM in the morning and I've got my naughty box of doom out. This is where I put all my WIPs and repair garments in. As you can see, it's embarrassingly overflowing and it's time to give it a clear out. So what we're going to do today, if you want to join me, is see how many garments I can get shifted out of this WIPS box, and then we'll have a look how many I've got left. I've allocated myself a whole day to do WIPs and repairs in, and we'll do a little catwalk of what I've managed to achieve at the end. I'm got to take the dogs out for a walk first, so I reckon it's probably going to be about 9 o'clock by the time I start this. So grab yourself a brew and let's do a crazy sewing WIP day together. I'm back from walking the dogs and I thought we'd go through what's actually in my box of doom, and then you can see how many naughty WIPs and repairs I've accumulated. So quickly we're going to go through these, otherwise I'm not going to get any repairs and WIPs done, am I? This one you've seen this week, it is the VETIVER blouse. Just need to sew the buttons on that. Good news is I found them, so that's top of the pile. The next thing is my NELL cape. I've pinned all the binding around the edge now. That just needs carefully sewing on, and I want to put a button clasp at the top, and then that's my cape finished. This dress is a hack that I did of the itch to stitch TIEFI cardigan, and the waist is too low. I need to raise it, so I need to take the skirt off, chop about 1 inch off the top part, and then reattach the skirt. And the hems and the sleeve hems also need twin needling. So that's number 3. Number 4 has been in here for quite some time, and I made a pair of I made the SAGUARO set, and the top was a little bit snug. Well, not snug, short, but that's how it's meant to be. But I was a bit conscious of it. It also came down a bit low at the front, making me look a bit boobalicious. So I've pinned it. I need to sew a little bit up on the front, and then I'm going to use one of these trims and sew it round the bottom to hide my midriff. So that's number 4. Number 5 is, shamefully, just needs a new hook and bar putting on it. They're a pair of trousers, they're the SASHAs, and I just need to sew a hook and bar on those. So that needs doing, doesn't it? Number 6 is one that's been cut out and never sewn. It's a simple top, and it's the top, the tie front top, that's in the sewing bee book. Probably have that whizzed up in a couple of hours max, so that's a WIP really, even though it's not been started. So how many is that now? 5. Number 6 is the scoop front pinafore from Sew Different Patterns. It's been made in a needle cord. I've got halfway through and abandoned it, so that needs finishing. We want to get into double figures easy, aren't we? Number 8 is I'll put the name of the dress below because I can't flipping remember it. It's finished, but I put the ties in the wrong place. They're too high up, so I just literally need to undo that seam, drop the ties down, and just stitch it up again. That's a simple fix, isn't it? But it's been sat in this box of doom for far too long. Number 8 is a pair of the Pietras that I made. Now, I didn't finish these off because they're in a wintry fabric, and you know, I'm doing my autumn winter wardrobe. All I need to do is turn these up. That's shameful, isn't it? And they're good to go. Number 9 is a project that's not been sewn and cut out, and it is the Blair shirt from Style Art Patterns. That may not get done today because it's a bit of a meaty sew, but it's in here, so I'm counting it. That's number 9. Number 10 is a pair of closet core jog pants in a beautiful raspberry velour. They're the plateau joggers, all cut out, never sewn together. That again may not get done today, but it needs doing. And last but not least, this bag contains what's left to do of the Freddy jacket. I know, shameful. Let me just grab it. So this is where I've got up to with the Freddy jacket, and it's literally the lining that needs doing and all the buttons and buttonholes. So that needs finishing. So I've just totted them up and I've got 12 WIPs, which isn't too bad. I thought there were more than that. So some of them are easy, some of them are a little bit meaty. I'm going to try and power my way through the easier ones today because otherwise I'll only get one thing finished. And then do the meatier ones and try and get my box empty by the end of September. There's a challenge to myself, and I'll come back at the end of September and let you know how I've got on. So let's do a time check. It's coming up to 9 o'clock. I'm just going to grab a quick breakfast and a brew, and then we'll make a start and see how many of these WIPs I can get through. If I can get 6 done today, I'll be absolutely buzzing. But we will see. And I need to incorporate some of the meatier ones, don't I? Because just sewing buttons on is a little bit of a cheat. But they do need doing, and they're in this box. If it gets them out of this box, that's good enough for me. So we will set a timer, and I'm allocating 8 hours only to this, only. I'm not going to have any breaks, she says. Odd brew break, bit of lunch, so half an hour. So if I start at 9, that's 5 o'clock, 8 hours. If I allow half an hour break for my lunch, that's 5:30. So we will stop sewing at 5:30. I'm going to do a dead 8 hours and see how many of these naughty WIPs we can get done. So let's get cracking. Okay, I've started the timer. It's 9 AM. I've got my wonderful pile of WIPs here out on the cutting table so that I can see them all and work my way through them. I'm going to start with something easy to ease myself into what is going to be a full-on day, and I'm going to sew the buttons on my VETIVER blouse. Now I only need to sew 4 buttons on here, and I'm still going to use my button spacer that I always use. I don't follow the guides on patterns, so I'm just going to decide where I want the top and the bottom button, space it out and mark all 4 buttons with my pen, and then get them sewn on. Now the good thing is I don't need to do buttonholes on this top because it comes on and off without having to undo it. So I'm not going to make my life hard. I'm doing it the cheats way. last button to do. And then that's garment number 1 all finished. Woohoo! Garment number 1 finished. Let's do a time check and see where we're up to. So we're on 9:24, so 24 minutes, and I've sewn 4 buttons on. Marked them, sewn them, and I've got a finished garment. We're on a roll. Put that in the finished pile. So what shall I do next? We're just going to pull them out randomly. So this one, still can't remember the name of the dress, so I'll pop it at the bottom again. But it has ties at the waist, and I've clearly put them far too high up, so I need to unpick those seams, drop the ties down, sew them back up again. Easy peasy. Let's get the unpicker. Now, when I've looked on the inside, these have been sewn into the darts, which kind of makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to leave the top of the dart sewn, leave the bottom of the dart sewn, undo the middle bit, move the strap down, and just sew the dart back up. Need the old bins for this though. So we're at my lovely beast machine. I've unpicked them, the darts, pinned the straps in place where they should be, and now we're just going to restitch those darts, and that is garment number 2 finished. This is going really well. Ta-da! Garment number 2 finished. Straps added. So I'm going to put this one in the finished pile as well, and they're all going to need a good press before we have a look at them at the end and take any spare threads off, but I'm classing that as finished for now. So I've just done a time check. It's 9:42 and I've got 2 easy garments finished, but it just shows you that just focusing your mind and finishing them off isn't as difficult as we always make it out to be, and we shouldn't put it off. So we'll tackle something a little bit more meaty now, and it's this TIEFI dress that I did. So there's a bit to do on this. I've got to undo the waistband, shorten it by about 1 inch, reattach the waistband, do the hem at the bottom and hem the sleeves. So that is not going to be, I reckon that should take me about an hour. So we're on 9:42 now. Let's see what time this gets finished. Now it's all been overlocked inside, so I'm going to do the cheats way. I'm not unpicking overlocking, I'm just going to cut it off because there's more than I need in this waist area, so I don't have to worry about ending up with my waist too short or high up. So Edward Scissorhands, cut the overlocking off. I've done my Edward Scissorhands, cut the skirt off, shortened the bodice by about 1 inch, and I now need to, because it's a gathered skirt, obviously I've lost my gathering stitches, so I've got to regather the skirt, attach it back on, and then I'll try it on before I do the overlocking this time, just to be safe. I'm going to do my gathering. I'm not going all the way around this skirt, I'm just doing it in 2 halves, so I'll do gathering for the front, gathering for the back, and then gather it up and get it pinned back on. So we're back at the trusty sewing machine, it's all pinned on the skirt, gathered in, and we're going to reattach it and then try it on and see what I think before I go any further. So I'm at the overlocker now, and I'm just going to overlock all the way round the waistband of this dress, and then, as I've already said, it's just the hems to do, and we're doing really well for time. So garment number 4 finished. All I had to do, I found the crotch seam needed overlocking as well, the hems needed overlocking, and then I've twin needled the hems, get me. So they're all done. Why didn't I finish them sooner? Well, I know why, because they're a winter style trouser. So Pietra's finished, 4 garments done, and we are on just before 11 AM. So I've done 2 hours, 1, 2, 3, 4 garments, so it's average of half an hour a garment. Wow, if I carry on like this, I'm going to run out of WIPs to do in my dreams. What shall we do next? Let's finish the cape. This is one that I was working on at my social that I go to in Yorkshire near Halifax, and I didn't finish the cape. I've just pinned all the binding on, and I've literally got to sew it round. So a nice slow sew for this one. Probably take about an hour maybe, give or take. Let's see. So I've got all my binding pinned round. I'm using the slotting method where you just sew it once, so I need to take my time. I've got lots of pins in, so wish me luck on this one, because this is the most important piece of binding. It goes all around the outside, and if it looks a mess, I'm gonna have to undo it all, because it's the main part, or one of the main features of my cape. This is a lot of sewing, but I'm nearly there. Okay, so I've done all the binding, but there are one or two little annoying bits where it's not caught it on the inside properly, like there. So I'm okay with that. The outside looks great. I am just going to hand stitch those down carefully on the inside. Then I just need to put my button on and a press stud on the inside, tidy all the loose threads, and that's another garment finished. So I'm just going to go all the way around the inside and check where it just needs catching in. Do all that neatly, well, as neatly as I can with hand stitching. It isn't my best thing in the world to do. I'm going to take my time because that has only actually taken me half an hour, and I thought all that top stitching around was going to take an hour, but it might be an hour, mightn't it, by the time I've done this. Sew my button on and sew my press stud on the inside, because that's what I want to do. So there's the first little gap sorted. I'm going to carry on doing these, sew my button on and the press stud, get rid of all the loose threads, and then show you where I'm up to. Ta-da! Okay, so it's nearly 1 o'clock and I'm getting a bit hungry, so I'm going to make myself a sarnie for my lunch. All I've got to do with this now, just look at that gorgeous button. Oh, I got this from a shop that was closing down somewhere down Shropshire way, I think. And I paid about 50p a button for these. I got loads of them. Anyway, that button is going to go at the top there. And then I've got a press stud to go on the inside. And the other reason I'm stopping right now is because I can't find my hand sewing needle I've been using. I don't know what I've done with it. So this may not get finished today if I need to do hand sewing and I can't find the needle. And I don't know where my pack of hand sewing needles are. So we might have to do a plan B. Are we classing this as finished because the pattern doesn't ask for a press stud and button? I think I'm going to give myself a break and say it's done, but I do want to sew that button and press stud on. So if I find the hand sewing needle before the end of today, I'll do it. If I don't, I can live with the fact that we've got to this stage, which is the pattern. So that's garment number 5 finished. Loving that. That's going to be so snuggly for the winter. Looking forward, well, I'm not looking forward to winter, but looking forward to having a nice warm cape to wear. So as I said, lunchy poos. Okay, so it's 1:30. The sun's come out, so I apologise if the exposure's not great. I've done my best to dumb it down. Found the sewing needle, so I'm now sewing on the press stud and the button on the cloak and then or cape, and then it's completely finished. So how do you think it's going? Do you think this is worthwhile doing? Spending a whole day doing WIPs? Do you have a load of WIPs and ignore them? Where do you hide them? Mine are in that Calyx drawer, but as you could see this morning, It was overflowing with embarrassment. So I'm thinking now that I might do this once a month and try and keep them under control, because they've got a bit out of hand. And I mean, some months there won't be any, will there? And that's what I'm trying to aim for. I'm not doing any more batch cutting. And I'm trying to start and finish a project before moving on to the next one. And by doing that, hopefully, I shouldn't have any WIPs in theory, should I? But, you know, I'm only human. So there's no guarantees, is there? So what do we think? Do we like it with the button? I'll have to look afterwards because I'm looking at a little camera lens, little image on my camera, and I can't really see it. So there we go. That's the cape done. And it's a little bit warm, so I'm going to take it off. So while I'm in the mood for hand sewing and chatting, let's put the hook and bar on these trousers. I thought these were the SASHA trousers, and they're actually not. The ones that are made from, can't remember the name of the book, and I'll put it below. But I love them because, I don't know if you can see, it's got scallop detail on the, I'm going to say sleeves, on the pockets. And that's what drew me to them. And they're a high waist pant as well. So yeah, need to get hook and bar on there. And then I can start wearing them again, can't I? Well, miracle of miracles, I found the hooks and bars. So we can fix this. Because that's part of my problem. It's not doing the mending, it's finding what I need to do the mending with. Like, you know, hand sewing needles that just disappear on their own. Lace on the bottom of the saguaro top, and also sew up there so that it's not embarrassing. I even put the tie on it, look. Why did I just leave? Why do we do that? Why do we just leave things? I think it was because I didn't have the fringe for the bottom or trim for the bottom, so I'm hoping, I think I'm going to go with that colour and sew it underneath right on the edge so that that's what we'll have. So there's that colour, or there's that green, but the green doesn't match anything, and the mustard, there is mustard in this top. So I think I'll go with the mustard trim, do that next, and then we're on to the Ziploc bags, which are all a little bit more to do, not simple fixes. And if I get, like I said, if I get that scoop pinafore done, I'll be happy, because how many will that be then? I've added this up once before, haven't I? Let's do another recount. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is number 5, so that'll be number 6. Not bad going. And then if I do this, oh, the trousers as well, they count as another garment, so that's 7. Because I've got to overlock and hem the saguaro pants. And then that scoop pinafore, that'll be 8 WIPs done in 8 hours. That would be amazing, because that's like an average of 1 an hour, which I know some have been easy, but some ain't been so easy at all. So I'm going to finish this, do the trim on the saguaro top, and then we'll do a time check. See you in a bit. Wowza. So let's check what time we're on. So we're on 2:25. I've got the saguaro pants overlocked and turned up. It's another thing done. And the trim on the bottom of the saguaro top. Not sure how that's going to look. We'll find out when I do my trying on sesh at the end. So let's get the big guns out. Okay, so it's now 20 to 3 and I've finished, I think, 7 garments, and I'm really starting to flag, but I'm going to keep going. I think I've got 1 more garment left in me, and I'm going to make one that's already cut out. It's been cut out in this really quite unusual wave effect jersey. And the pattern that's been cut out is this one. It's in the Back to Basics sewing bee book. I've had it cut out for ages. Yes, I know it's showing the midriff, but I'm thinking I could wear a little t-shirt underneath it, or use it for layering up in the winter. Maybe have a polo neck and then that on top. That might work. Ooh, in a nice burgundy, or one of the colours that are in there. Oh yeah, I'm quite liking that idea. So I've had this cut out for yonks since I bought the book, and the book's been out quite a while now. So I'm going to read the instructions, hopefully get this one done. Then I need to get rid of all the threads and make my garments look nice before I try them all on for you. So let's see how I get on with this little make. I'm hoping this is not going to mash my head in, but you know what I'm like. Let's see. Let's see if Esme and Patrick can make my life easy for my last make of the day. Now, this is being done differently, just to mash my head. A jersey top with French seams. Never heard that one. So I'm using my Reflex thread just in case, but the shoulder seams are done as French seams. So Esme knows best. Let's get cracking. Ta-da! And there's the last garment finished. All done with French seams. Mashed my brain doing the tie front knot, but I've done it. So that has been in my WIPS pile for nearly a year maybe. So let's count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 'and last but not least, 9. Wowza. I really need a stiff drink now. Just kidding. I'm due another latte, I think, just to chill. So I've done 9 garments. I'm going to go press them all, make them look really nice. Well, as nice as they can look on me. And then we'll do a little catwalk so you can see what I've actually achieved. I hope I've inspired you to get your WIPs whipped up and not let them pile up like I have been doing. My box is still not empty. There were 12, 13 with those trousers, weren't there? And I've done 9. So I've got 4 garments still to do that are WIPs. They're all part finished garments or ones that have just been cut out. So that's why they've not been done. There's no way I could do those. I've made 1 garment from scratch. This one was a lot of alterations. All the bias binding on that cape. A few that just needed buttons and hooks putting on them. But do you know what? I'm really proud of myself for sticking with it. And I think this is the way forward for me. I'm going to allocate 1 sewing day a month to just doing my WIPs. I'm not going to record them all because you'd all get a bit bored with them, wouldn't you? But this is me fessing up. We all have WIPs. You can't avoid them. But the way I'm going to try and control them going forward is by having a sewing WIPs day once a month. Let me know if you think that will work. What do you do for your WIPs? Grab yourself another stiff drink and let's do the